Spring of 2012, in the fog-soaked hills of Appalachia. 4 soldiers on a quiet guard job, nothing special, but the locals had their whispers. The white thing, Sheepsquatch, bigger than a bear, wool matted and filthy, horns jagged like broken bone, teeth that never quite fit. Sometimes it walked, sometimes it crawled, always wrong. Its screen cut like metal tearing underwater, its stench sulfur and rot hung in the air. We thought we were just watching a shack. That night, the hills taught us different. Some legends don't stay buried. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel, and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. Name's Hale. Back then I wore sergeant stripes and pretended I knew what I was doing. We were training in West Virginia, spring, wet. Everything smelled like old leaves and coal dust. The hills folded on themselves and the fog sat low, like it didn't want to leave. I had 3 with me. Rivera, fast hands. Smart mouth, Klein, big kid. Strong as sin. Scared of needles and heights, but not much else. Owens. We called him Preacher. Not because he was holy, because he talked like your granddad, slow, heavy, like every word weighed something. We were there for a guard job, basically. The unit got loaned out to help some state folks keep eyes on equipment in the hills. Survey gear, radio repeaters, some new test rig for measuring ground shake. A survey team had logged weird vandalism up near the ridgeline. No one wanted to say poachers. No one wanted to say bored teens. It could have been bears, could have been nothing. That's how it started, simple. We got tasked to hike out, check on a little relay shack, sit on it overnight, and report back. Radios and maps. Trucks to the last dirt road, then boots and rucks. Why us? Because the platoon had been rotating that duty all week, and it was our turn. When did the bad part hit? Later. First, it was just another wet night in the hills. 4 idiots walking into trees because the fog ate our headlamps. That's the full intro. Me, my 3, the job, the place, the reason we were out there. Nothing big. Nothing weird. Not yet. The day looked like 100 others. We topped off water at a rusted pump by a hunting cabin, signed a county logbook, and followed a narrow cut that ran beside a creek. We talked trash, because that's what you do to keep pace. Rivera complained about chow. Klein hummed some country song, off-key, didn't care. Preacher didn't say much. He just watched the trees like the trees might answer back. We passed a local old guy in a camo jacket that had seen decades. He had a hound that didn't bark. The hound looked at us like it knew something about our future and didn't like it. The old guy nodded and said, "Don't camp where the trees look burnt." I asked him why. He just scratched the dog's ear and said, "The thing that burns them don't need fire." I wrote it off as mountain talk, but I remembered it. Top had told us to keep it light. Check the relay shack, sit and listen. Call if some idiot showed up to mess with the gear. It was state money. Folks get jumpy about that. They wanted uniforms visible. The air tasted like iron. Birds kept quiet. The hills looked pretty, but they had that look hills get, where the shadows stack in the hollers and you start to think maybe you shouldn't be there after dark. We cut through a stand of scrub pine, found a patch of ground where the needles had gone gray. Not dead, just wrong. The trees bent in toward each other like they'd lived one bad winter too long. Klein picked up a clump of wool snagged on a branch. White, thick, coarse. He laughed. "Big sheep out here. Where's the herd?" Rivera asked. Preacher just looked at the wool in Klein's hand and said, "Put that down." Klein dropped it. We kept walking. We reached the little shack before dusk. A metal box on stilts with a wire cage around it and a solar panel pitched like a roof. The door had a padlock. It was intact. No footprints. No spray paint. Quiet. We set a small camp in the trees above it. No fire. Just a cold sit. Radio's on. Night vision ready. That was normal. That was the job. When the sun went, the fog crept up from the creek like a live thing. The night vision flickered every now and then. I popped the battery and reseated it. It steadied. It always does, until it doesn't. Around midnight, we heard a shriek down the draw. Not a cat. Not a coyote. It sounded like metal tearing underwater. Rivera whispered, "Hell was that?" I told him it was a fox. I knew it wasn't. We told jokes. Ate cold chow. Checked in with the platoon on the hour, nothing to report. The moon dragged slow across the fog, and by second check, my shoulders ached from sitting. That's when the smell rolled in. Not all at once, just a slow creep. Sulfur and wet dog and something dead that had been rinsed in bleach. It got in my mouth. It got in my eyes. Gas leak, Klein said, voice small. Out here, Rivera said. From what? A coal ghost. Preacher put a hand on my sleeve and squeezed twice. A warning. He didn't look at me. He looked at the ridge above us. I listened hard. Heard water. Heard my breath. Heard the tiny hum of the relay shack's guts all the way down the hill. Then something stepped in the needles 30 yards off and didn't care if we heard it. We raised rifles and said nothing. The needles stopped moving. The smell got worse. And then, like someone tugged a rope, the air eased. Whatever it was moved away. Probably a bear, I said. We all wanted to believe it. We sat there and fed ourselves that lie until it felt true. Morning came with a cold drizzle. Our gear wore the dew like fine glass. We stretched, stomped, feeling back into numb feet, and went to check the relay shack. The lock was still there. I called it in anyway. Top said keep eyes on the cage, not the box. The mesh had a patch high up where something had rubbed. White hair snagged in the wire. Like the clump Klein had pulled off the pine, Rivera tugged at the hair with a stick. We got a woolly vandal. Klein grinned but didn't touch it this time. Preacher walked the perimeter and pointed at the ground. Tracks. He was right, hoof shapes where there shouldn't be. But too wide, too deep. They wandered from the trees, circled the shack, then cut off at a weird angle that made no sense with the slope. One print looked wrong. A smear like a hand and a claw dragged through the mud, too long for a dog. Too much weight. Goat, Rivera said. Up here? I asked. Folks keep all kinds of dumb pets, he said. The smell drifted back again. Stronger. It had weight now. Like it moved with a body and a mind. The hair on my neck stood up and I hated that my body was telling the truth. Wind shift, I said. We'll move camp uphill tonight. We did. We reset on a little bench below a rock outcrop. Better view. Worse cover. We stayed quiet through the afternoon. Ate. Dozed in shifts. Close to dusk, I took a leap behind the rocks and looked down the draw. The fog laced the trees and a white shape stood just inside the gloom. Not far. Head high. Shoulders like a bear, but longer. Narrow waist. A tail that hung like a rope and twitched once. It turned its head and I saw horns. Not pretty goat curls. Short, thick, punching up through matted hair. The muzzle was like a dog's, but wrong. The teeth didn't fit the mouth. They showed even when it was closed. Fangs forced its lips to sit open and the breath steamed, and I could smell that sulfur from where I stood. I blinked. It was gone. I didn't draw on it. I didn't call out. I stood there and swallowed and told myself I'd imagined it. Because once you say it out loud, it's real. And if it's real, your world changes. I didn't want that. Not yet. I told the guys I saw a white deer. Klein perked up. Albino? Looked like it, I said. Preacher watched my hands. He knew I was lying. He didn't call me on it. He just said, we should leave an offering. An offering? Rivera said. What are we Boy Scouts? Not for God, Preacher said. For whatever's out there. We're not feeding some dote, I said. Preacher shrugged. Wasn't thinking food. What then? Fire, he said. Or iron. Or nothing at all. We did nothing. We sat. We waited. And at full dark, we heard it again. The shriek. Closer. And then far. Then close again. Like it could be two places at once. I called it in. The radio hissed and popped. The night vision flickered. A white wash rolled across the tube like a slow blink and came back. Say again, Hale, Top said in my ear, broken up by static. Possible wildlife. Strong odor. Request guidance. Hold your spot, Top said. We'll do a drive-by at dawn. We held. The fog crowded in so close it felt like we were underwater. The drive-by never came. Top said a truck got stuck in the mud and they were busy with recovery. He asked if we could sit one more night. He'd move another squad our way by morning if the road stayed dry. We said Roger and settled in. That second night, the trees changed. Not the trunks, the sound. The sound, it was like the woods learned our breathing and copied it a little wrong. Every cough came back to us a half beat later from the other side of the clearing. When I shifted my weight, I heard a shift out there that matched it with a delay, like an echo too slow. The smell came and went. The shriek pinballed the ridge. I tried to map it in my head. Couldn't. It was like the thing moved without going through the space between A and B. At one point, Rivera whispered, "It's behind us," and I heard the needles lift a few feet back and then lay down. I turned and saw nothing. I tasted sulfur and bleach and rot. We found claw marks on the rock in the morning. Not scratches, gouges, like someone had taken a chisel and hammered at the surface until flakes popped free. The rock was flecked with white hair stuck in the damp like slugs. We moved down to the relay shack and found the cage peeled back on one corner. Not cut, peeled, like a hand had grabbed and ripped. The padlock dangled, still locked, useless. I swallowed hard. The gear inside hummed like nothing had happened. No broken wires. No missing box. No sign of a person. Just the cage damaged and that stink in the air. We swept the area. Found more tracks. They didn't line up. Some looked like hooves. Some looked like hands. A few like knees. Like the thing had gone down and up quick and didn't care how it moved, so long as it moved. "Call it in," Preacher said. I did. Top said hold. He sounded tired. Or scared, couldn't tell. A deputy truck came up the dirt road near noon. Old boy with the hound from earlier hopped out. He let the dog sniff the cage. The dog whined. The deputy didn't come closer than 10 feet. He kept his fingers tight on his belt like he needed to hold himself up. "What do you think?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. He looked at the trees and said, "You boys are on Boone and Kanawha line. Mason ain't far. Folklore says the white thing runs these hills. Folks told it different names. You don't want to see it in sun." He looked at the torn cage. "Thing is, sun's out now." Rivera rolled his eyes. "You telling ghost stories, sir?" "Old stories can be true," the deputy said. "True don't mean safe." He handed me a folded piece of paper. On it, someone had written notes by hand, times and places. Mid-90s, surge and calls, screaming in the woods, camps torn up. Camps torn up. No marks on people, but they lost days. Lost language for a while after. Stank like sulfur. Don't shine bright light at it. Don't run downhill. If you smell it, get low. "Why downhill?" Klein asked. The deputy got that stiff look older men get when they remember something they don't like. It likes to push. It ain't a bear. Bears shove you when they're mad. This thing tries to roll you. He whistled for the dog and backed away. "You boys should go home." We didn't. That wasn't the job. We stayed. That evening, the wind died. The fog settled deep. I told the guys we'd shift even higher. Get a cliff at our back. No room to get rolled. We moved quiet. Every footfall felt like it was happening too late. Night fell like a trapdoor. The shriek came again and every bird noise shut off. We took turns staring into nothing and thinking we saw something. Then the radio hissed hard and gave out. Not dead, just mad. Like lightning was chewing the air between us and the tower. "Kill it and reset," I said. We tried. No good. We were alone up there. Just us and the breath of the hills. Around midnight, a branch broke close. Then another, snapping like joints. You can tell the difference. I aimed into the dark and said, "Don't." I didn't know who I was talking to. Maybe myself. Something threw a rock the size of a skull at our position. It hit the outcrop and spidered and skittered off into the leaves. "Okay," Rivera breathed. "Okay, that's a nope." "Hold," I said. Another rock, smaller. It tumbled to a stop between my boots. White hair stuck to it like cotton snagged on a fence. We heard breathing then. Ours. And something else. Wet. Fast. It had a rhythm we didn't know. Preacher whispered, "Down," and we crouched. The smell matted in our throats. The night vision went bright white for a second like someone breathed on the lens and it cleared. We saw it then. Just for a heartbeat, floating in the flicker. A shape at the edge of the rocks. Taller than a man even hunched. White hair clumped with mud. Horns punching through like old handles. Eyes like dark glass, but set too far apart. The mouth too long, the teeth wrong. The tail swished once, hitting brush with a soft slap, then gone. Klein's breathing got loud. He shook. I put my hand on his shoulder and it felt like I'd grabbed a fence cable. "We're leaving at first light," I said, throat tight. Everyone nodded. Morning came. We still had no radio. The path we'd hiked up looked different. The fog had moved stones. That's how it felt. The trail turned where it hadn't. We took it anyway because what else do you do? Half an hour down, we found the trucks, or what was left. They weren't wrecked, just pushed. Both nose down in the ditch like bad parking, doors shut. No footprints. The smell stamped the air like a brand. I tried the engine. It clicked. The second one coughed and died. We opened the hood and found the battery cables chewed. Not cut, chewed. The teeth marks were wide and flat like a goat with a mouth full of knives had tried to eat our ride home. "Walk out," I said. We loaded what we could carry and started on the fire road toward the highway. The trees leaned over us like a tunnel. No wind, no bugs. We didn't make a mile before we heard it. The shriek. Close. Then the sound of something big moving off the road, staying pace. Sometimes ahead, sometimes behind. Playing. We kept going. Because what else could we do? We made a camp by an old rock wall, moss on everything. A rusted farm gate in the middle of nowhere, maybe a property line 100 years gone. We slept in shifts. I took first watch. Preacher sat with me. We didn't talk. After a while, he handed me a tin with a little length of iron inside. "From my granddad's barn," he said. He used to say hills like these remember old things. Said iron's good at keeping the new ones out. "You think it's old or new?" I asked. "Both," he said. "Folklore gets sticky." I didn't know what that meant. I stuck the iron in my pocket anyway. Felt stupid. Felt better. Rivera and Klein slept. They looked too young right then, sweat on their faces in the cold. Preacher whispered, "You saw it clean last night, didn't you?" "Enough," I said. "Don't shine bright light," he said. "The deputy didn't make that up." "I won't," I said. Then I checked my flashlight anyway. Have it. I clicked it off and off again. The beam was harsh even on low. It hurt my eyes. "Don't say its name," Preacher said next. "We haven't," I said. He nodded. "Good. You know the name?" I asked. "Don't want to," he said. Morning we found the gate moved. Not much, just an inch. But the soil at the posts was fresh, if that makes sense. Like someone had wiggled it all night. We ate. Tried the radio again. Nothing but hard breath on the line like we dialed into a person's throat. We walked. At midday, we cut along a ridge with a drop on one side and thick laurel on the other. I kept us tight to the rock, not the brush. I didn't want anything pushing us downhill. The stink came in waves. My eyes watered. Rivera gagged. Klein put his sleeve over his mouth. Preacher stayed steady. He looked like he was praying with his teeth clenched. We found an old campsite under a lean-to of bark. Nobody there. The bedroll was torn into strips, pots bent. A lighter smashed flat and thrown up into a tree crook like a trophy. On the lean-to roof, someone had carved words with a knife. The letters were shaky and deep. White thing, and then below it, "Don't run," and beneath that, "Not a bear." There were dates, mid-90s. Another from 2012. The lines cut so hard into the bark it had bled sap around them and healed weird. Klein touched the letters. "Tourist art, let's go," I said. We took a side trail. It didn't show on our map, but it was going the right way. An hour in, the trees opened into a little clearing rimmed with waist-high grass. The middle was churned like hogs had played football there. Bones littered the ground, some deer, some smaller. One had a collar. Its tag was stamped with the phone number and the name Mully. The tag was clean as a coin. Everything else stank. "Eyes up," I said. We skirted the edge. The grass wasn't right. It had a curl to it, every blade bent inward. I don't know why that mattered, but it did. The air went quiet like it was waiting for a verdict. Preacher stopped and pointed at a half log close to the center. It had handprints on it, muddy. The fingers were long and splayed like someone wearing two big gloves had pressed down, then dragged. "We're being told a story," he said. "What's the ending?" Rivera asked. Preacher looked at me. I didn't have an answer. When we came out the far side, we found the old logging road the map promised. My chest loosened. That road meant the highway was not far. Civilization, trucks, people who believed in bears. We moved faster. The shriek found us in the last hour of light. It came from the road behind, then from the right, then from inside my skull. My vision fuzzed at the edges. The night vision, hanging on my chest, clicked without being on. Like it was trying to wake up. We jogged, didn't run. The road dropped and curved. I kept us to the high side. Brush shook 30 yards off. Not one spot. A line. Like something big moved through and the whole wall of green leaned away from it. Left, I said. We moved to the rock cut where the road had been blasted through. The wall would keep our backs safe. That's what I told myself. Ahead, the road bent and vanished. It felt like walking into a mouth. The stink hit so hard my eyes teared. We put bandanas on. It didn't help. Then it stepped into the road. You think monster and you think too simple. This thing wasn't a cartoon. It didn't want to be seen clean. It fought the eye. The hair wasn't snow white. It was dirty cream, clumped, wet. The horns looked rough, not smooth, like they'd been broken and regrown a few times. The snout was too long and the jaw a touch short, so the fangs didn't fit and the lips stayed parted. The eyes sat wide and low. The tail dragged and twitched like something had grabbed it once and not let go. Its hands were half open like it had been crawling and decided to stand. The claws curved like roofing nails. It didn't charge. It didn't growl. It breathed hard and took us in, and that felt worse. Being looked at. Rivera whispered a string of words you only say when you're very scared. Klein froze. Preacher muttered something that might have been a prayer or a curse. I didn't raise my rifle. Not yet. A shot we couldn't place would bring it or make it decide. Back, I said. Slow. We took a step. It took a step. Not forward, sideways. Like it wanted our angle to be bad. Like it'd done this with deer and people and cars and knew how bodies moved when they're scared. Don't shine it, Preacher said. I didn't. We kept backing until our heels hit loose rock. The road shoulder sloughed under us. The thing tilted its head. The smell pulsed with its breath. Talk to it, Rivera blurted. Say something. Like what? I don't know. Tell it we're leaving. So I did. Felt stupid. I said, low and steady, we're walking out, we aren't yours. The eyes didn't blink. Then it shrieked. Not just sound. Pressure. It shoved the noise into us like a wall. My bones rang. Klein fell to a knee. Rivera gagged. Preacher held the little iron rod and hissed through his teeth like it burned. That broke whatever line we had. The thing came in 2 steps. Not fast like a cat. Fast like gravity. Fire, I said, and we did. The first shot took hair. The second hit shoulder. I saw fluid spray that wasn't red. It was pale, milky. It stank worse. The third didn't touch it at all because it wasn't there when the bullet got to where it should have been. It hit us with the smell and the sound again. My head went light. For a second I saw white fields and a long fence and thought I was a kid in winter. Then I was back and the thing was too close and the tail whipped and smacked my shin and I dropped. Klein grabbed my collar and hauled me up like I weighed nothing. Rivera laid down a ragged trail of shots that stitched the laurel. A few hit. The thing jerked and growled low, a sound like a diesel engine in a cave. Up the cut, I yelled, and we crabbed into the blasted rock side where loose stones made a slip. The thing didn't like that angle. It moved back and forth in the road, snorting, pawing. It put one hand on the rock and pressed. Granite chipped. It shrieked again, the world pinholed. My ears screamed their own noise. When I could see, it was gone. We stayed pinned in that notch for a long time. My hands shook. I don't lie about that, Preacher said. Rules. What rules? Rivera gasped. Don't shine bright light, Preacher said. Don't run downhill. Don't say its name. He put the iron in my hand. Keep this. I'll take your knife instead. We traded. It felt like we were kids crouched in a closet trading baseball cards while our house burned down. The road bent, and around the bend we found a gate, not the old farm one. A new metal bar with a latching box the county could open when it needed to move a truck. A chain wrapped it. A padlock hung at the end like a dead weight. Cutting that will take too long, Rivera said. We climb, I said. We threw our rucks over and then we went. I put a hand on the top rail and swung, and the metal screamed a little. The scream echoed in the trees like it belonged here. Klein got over and dropped too hard. He did a little ankle twist dance and swore. Preacher went last. He moved like he'd done this 100 times, which he probably had. The road widened into a gravel lot with a closed picnic area sign, a mat board with graffiti. Someone had drawn a white figure with horns and fat marker on the corner and written "Run Uphill" beneath it. Funny, but not. There was a restroom block, brick, locked. A soda machine stood to one side, unplugged. I looked at it like a sinner looks at a church door. A hard box you can't get into without paying. We didn't have coins. We had rifles and bad breath. We're not stopping, I said. We crossed a lot and found the highway, 2 lanes. No cars. The fog ate the far side. The lime paint looked fresh somehow. That's how my brain decided to notice things. Useless stuff. We set a pace. The highway felt wrong. Too open. Too quiet. An hour later, tires hissed in the distance. Salvation. We stuck thumbs out like teenagers. The shape in the fog wasn't a sedan. It was something taller. The outline wrong. The sound wrong too. Not tires. Not rubber. Something moving fast, bumping across the shoulder, pacing the asphalt from the ditch. We didn't stick our thumbs out anymore. The bushes on the right exploded. The thing hit the median and skidded and crossed to the far side like a dirty comet. For a second, I thought it would keep going. It didn't. It turned. It paced us. Just inside the trees. Our speed. Our breath. We didn't talk. Preacher started to hum. Not a hymn. A low, steady note he could hold forever. It set my teeth on edge and kept my feet moving. Rivera said too loud, "Why us?" "Because we're here," I said. He nodded like that was fair. The thing got bored, or hungry. It stepped onto the road again, fast and low. We fired. It ducked. It didn't like the iron in my hand. I could tell. It watched that hand more than my rifle. So I kept the iron low and out, like a lion tamer with a chair. And that image would have been funny if anything about this was. It came close enough I saw the scars on the horns. Old chips, fresh cracks. It had broken them on rock more than once. Maybe it liked the feel. Maybe it had tried to ram things that didn't move. Then it did something I didn't think it would. It turned its head and put its mouth on the road. It pressed tongue to asphalt and tasted it, like it was tracking our feet through tar, like we didn't get to be lost to it. Left, I said, off the blacktop. We cut into the trees and the ground went soft and uneven. Not downhill. Uphill. Uphill. I kept that rule in my head like a chant. Don't run downhill. Don't shine it. Don't say its name. The thing followed. The smell got stronger until the air became paste. My eyes watered so hard I could barely see. The night vision tried to power, though it wasn't on. It hummed. That scared me worse than the monster. Branches whipped my face. Klein huffed behind me. Rivera said, "Hate this," and then, "Hate everything," like declarations helped. We hit an old fence line. Wire. Post rotted so bad the wire sagged like a dead snake. "Through," I said. "Watch the snags." I tossed rucks over again. The iron in my pocket caught on the wire and sang a tiny note. The thing hissed. It backed off 2 steps. Not fear. Not like it was melting, but it hated it. That was something. We pushed on. The trees thinned, and we stumbled into a clearing with a mouth in the ground. A mine. Old as sin. The timbers over the entrance leaned like drunks. A rusted sign said "No entry," and someone had tacked on seriously under it. That would have been funny a day ago. "Hard pass," Rivera said. The smell blasted out of the hole like what lived down there had been waiting to breathe on us. Klein gagged and dry heaved until his back muscles seized. Preacher put a hand on him and steadied him and stuck a pinch of coffee grounds under his lip. "Bite down," he said. "Fight the smell with another taste." I looked into the mine. The dark looked thick, like you could cut it, like it was fur. The thing moved around us in a slow horseshoe. It didn't want the mine either. Or it did, and it wanted us in there first. "Decision time," I said. "We can't outrun it. We can't sit in the open. The hole might give us angles." A choke point. It'll trap us, Rivera said. Yes, I said. That's the point. He blinked at me like he wanted to argue, then didn't. Preacher nodded once. Klein wiped his mouth. Okay, we went into the mine. We went into the mine. Lamps low, beams on the floor. Rule held, don't blind it. Tight tunnel, wet rock, old cartwheels, scratch marks too long for any dog. A pinch point ahead, rock squeezed down like a jaw. Good choke. I jammed Preacher's iron bar into the gap, shoulder behind it. The shriek hit first. Not sound, pressure. Then it rushed, white hair, horns, teeth that didn't fit. It slammed the pinch. Iron rang. It didn't like that. Pacing, claws ticking stone. We fell back to a small chamber with one rotted beam making a triangle against the wall. Good cover, bad options. We kept the beam between us and it. Controlled fire at shoulders and flanks. Milky spray. The stink doubled. It probed, tail snapping, then rammed. The beam cried but held. We slid toward a side crack too small for it to cruise through clean. We made a show of fumbling. Left a ruck out. Bait. It took it. Came low, mean, rammed the beam again. Timbers groaned. We'd already dragged the cartwheel into place with cord. The support gave, dropped just enough. Wheel wedged. Beam pinned one horn and part of its neck, not kill. Pin. We shot the wood, not the head. Drove the bite deeper. It howled in a way that put words in your skull. Preacher hissed, don't repeat any of it. We didn't. It tore free, horn cracking, came again. Slower, meaner. No more tricks left. Last card, I said. We flipped lamps full into its face. Rule broken. It reeled. It reeled. Not melting, just blind angry. We put rounds into mouth and chest. It laughed ugly goat choke sound, then charged half blind, hunting by stink. We bailed, uphill through black rock knots. Breath on fire. It kept pace just far enough to choose when. A seam of daylight opened. We punched through into ferns and cold air. No stop. We kept climbing. The shriek poured out of the mine and ran up the ridge behind us. We hit the crest. Houses down valley. We broke for them downhill. Bad rule, good hope. It hit my back like a truck. I rolled, grabbed the iron, jammed it up under the jaw. Metal sang. It flinched. The horn clipped my ear. Rivera and Klein body checked its flank. Preacher threw himself at its chest. It rocked but didn't fall. Wire fence ahead. We crashed it. The iron scraped the strand and rang. It hated that sound. Paused. A rifle cracked from the houses. Then another. It turned its head. I got 3 into the soft lime my granddad showed me on a hog. It listened to the hails of breath, tail twitching, then walked off into the trees like it owned the rent. We limped for the porches. Locals dragged us in. Towels. Coffee. Shaking hands. A teenage kid with a deer rifle stared like we'd crawled out of a TV. We got hauled back. Official line, bear tore up a site, truck stuck, minor injuries. Butterbar said, keep quiet. Captain said, say wildlife. Major wrote his tidy report. Top brought coffee, Sat said you did right. That's all. Klein got stitches up the calf. Rivera coughed sulfur for a week. Preacher slept with a nail in his fist. I kept the iron, drawer by the bed. Some nights it sits on the sill. Did we kill it? No. It's older than the name folks gave it. It pushes, rolls, laughs when you think you've got rules. You can hurt it. You can make it pick another meal. That's all. If you go up there, remember what worked enough to get us out, run uphill. Don't blind it unless you must. Don't say its name. Iron helps. Maybe. Don't camp where the trees look burnt. If you smell sulfur and bleach, get low and get gone. Spring. Wet. 4 of us on a nothing job. We walked into the hill story and walked out with most of ourselves. I tell it simple now. By a fire. Short sentences. No names for it, just rules. That's the truth I can carry. The rest stays in the dark, scraping horn on stone. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.